Hi everyone. The last time I did this, I spent the entire time talking about myself, and luckily this is what we're being asked to do. If you know me, you know I speak in poem, and if you don't, I've got slides explaining what I mean by using words that may seem to be out of context. I could easily be speaking to you in an academically correct manner, but I don't think that stays true to who I am. This is also an attempt not to gatekeep. For those who aren't privy to either thespian or academic jargon, this for me is also a way of opening up knowledges that we do not only find worth in a particular type of person or speech. Decolonizing your art practice or institution. What does that mean? When you Google decolonization, you get this. The action or process of a state withdrawing from a former colony, leaving it independent. Okay, not quite what we're looking for. Google's definition gives us decolonization as a noun, but what we're looking for is it as a verb, as an intentional, everyday action. The thing about decolonization is that it should always look different, especially as an arts practitioner. For example, when land acknowledgement started to become a thing, it was a good first step, but then I started to hear the exact same thing over and over and over again. And at that point, they're not really doing the work now, are they? They're just checking the diversity box and moving on with the production. Ultimately, decolonizing your practice is an active effort to change institutional prejudices of anti-Black and anti-Indigenous sentiments that are being upheld. It's not only supporting, but centering BIPOC folk in the work that you produce, in the spaces that you create. If the work you're producing is directly opposing the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy, then it can be considered decolonial. It is also more complicated than that, as everything always is, so I cannot tell you exactly how this needs to manifest for you, but I can tell you what I do. I'm going to check this in 3 parts. Part 1, YIKES. YIKES, a theater company, runs in a non-hierarchical manner. As artistic director, I'm open to questioning and interrogation from my team, because I think that's exactly why we have them. No one person is better than the other. Everyone brings something to the table just by being in the space. It's kind of this point of reframing the ways in which we cherish worth, removing the top-down method and having a more community-oriented approach where everyone's thoughts and ideas are weighted equally. I call it interrogation, but in many mutual aid spaces, it's consensus-based decision-making. In practicing this way, I expose my mistakes, but this has never been about undermining my knowledge or ability to lead the company. I always tell my co that we need to have a united front before expressing our ideas to other people in the team. This is not to say that what's being proposed is perfect, but more so that we're prepared for the interrogation. If I truly understand my impulses, then I can better explain the idea. I don't think things work unless everyone is actually on board and things truly make sense to them. For a company that puts on abstract and experimental work, as artistic director, I need to be open to that questioning. We have to have so much trust in one another as the work we do is often vulnerable. Part 2, Nepantla. The term Nepantla was introduced to me by Sayeda Trulajo. Nepantla is the Nahuti word for an in-between state. Sayeda expresses Nepantla as an invitation to explore ways to decolonize methods and honor our voice and purpose as theater makers and storytellers. While working with Sayeda, she told me that I'm already there and that this state of in-betweenness is already a part of my practice. Nepantla for me is about being open to possibilities. It is as much about yourself as it is about what surrounds you, animate or inanimate. It is about being vulnerable with yourself and with your art. For me, it is so much so about the process. I I want to know what your impulses were, what excited you, what had to die, what is erotic about the work you're doing. I want you to be open. I want to know if I can see that in the final piece. I want to be excited as you share it with me. I want to be able to hold both your fears and hopes at the same time. Yikes, danger zone. I say this because I'm never looking to gain capital. I just want this deep dive of exploration. I feel as if we've lost ourselves. I think as artists, we've become conditioned to a specific way of making our work. We have started to think about the product, about the impact, but what about the process? Theater artists, we've forgotten about the root of the thing that we do. We've forgotten about play. Part 3, what do you care about? Truthfully, I care about myself, as I think we all should. I think expanding on that, we should care about the communities that we hail to, be in our identities or through the places in which we live. I care about making people think. I care about openness. Before I start to create, I usually get an image or a feeling, and I ask myself, how can I have others feel this thing with me? The piece then comes together as I take a deep dive into what this thing is. I spend almost too much time thinking about what something means within a specific time and place, what a thing means in relation to another thing, what it means being performed or experienced by a particular body. I like to think that I create experiences, and you may be like, well, Kemi, everything's an experience in it. And well, yeah, that's exactly it. Is it an artist's job to make the everyday a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more meaningful? I believe it's also our job to connect different communities and to defy colonial expectations of relationality and kinship. I think what's terrifying about this is that people will not feel it the same way that you do. I don't know if you're feeling it that I'm feeling it. I don't know if you would have been interested in listening to me under different circumstance. Maybe because I'm 21 years old, or maybe because I look the way that I do, or maybe because you don't know anything about me. And that last one is fair enough. Zoom doesn't let me feel you in this space with me. So can I get the slide to catch up a little bit? Zoom doesn't let you feel me in this space with me, so I can pretend you're all open. Sometimes a closed relation can really throw you off with points of imposter syndrome, with points of doubt, and this magical feeling that we describe as just anger, and that maybe there was no need to dive into it like that because maybe you've just made this whole thing up and maybe you're scared and you don't want to go back and you want it to feel safe, but did we really choose the life of an artist for safety? I choose it for exploration, for a chance to be understood and to understand in a way that words don't allow. What I find really wholesome about deconstructing normative ways of thinking are that my discoveries are things I already know, that every team member's input is valuable. I think we know that, but how often do we practice? Finally, I want to offer this to you. What are you currently obsessed with? Is this something you want to make art from? What happens when you allow yourself to sit in this obsession? And if you cannot, that's okay. Sometimes I can only peer over the ledge because it terrifies me. Other times I slowly climb into it, examining all of its possible details, only to climb back out because the mental exploration was enough. I want you to be intentional about your work. I implore you to be anarchist. Your work can exist outside of these systems. Thank you.